Hi, thanks for tuning in to Ghostly Stories and Strange Things. Please take a moment to hit the 5 stars with a nice review, and if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Storytime Fun, it's in the description below. If you can support the podcast, buy me coffee, Sneakies, or PayPal anonymous content. And if you have a great ghost story for us or a strange spooky story, please email us at jobs@mh@live.com and we'll get your story on the air. And please, remember to send us your screams so we can put them on the episode. You ready to scream for this story? Okay, this is a ghost story that has a lot of spooky and a lot of strange and weird in it and unexplained. So you're going to love it. This is the story of the haunted mausoleum of Julia Legare. And this is a haunted mausoleum. And you're like, what's a mausoleum? That's where you have, these are people that probably had money to have like those big structures, like a Greek structure, like a Roman structure above ground where they would bury the people inside. And it's like a little house. And it usually looks like a museum, a mini museum, like a death museum, I guess, buried museum. So this lady lived in South Carolina on Addicts Island. Ooh, and her initials is J.B. Legare. And she was she was pretty. She was the young wife of a plantation owner of a planter called John Berwick Legare. And that's Legare. So John Berwick was her husband, and she was his young wife, and they lived on Addicts Island, and she had 3 children. And she died at just 22 years of age. And she seemed to have like this dark hair and just very nice. So they, were burying her in the gravestone crypt. And so they put her in there because she got sick of what they believe was diphtheria. And she was sick with diphtheria or who knows, pneumonia, the flu back there, or from childbirth. So she died at 22. She was pronounced dead in 1852. So they buried her in their family's mausoleum, the Legare Mausoleum, in the cemetery of a Presbyterian church on the Addicts Island. So they had a family mausoleum where it's like a little, like a little house. It looks like a Greek Roman building. And so they put her in there and they sealed the door. You bury someone, you seal the door. It's above ground. And so this cement door, or was it a cement door or wooden door? It looks like, since there's no door on it now, there's no door on it now. It's just left open. So I don't know if it was a wooden door, an iron door, marble door, cement door. So let's assume it was just whatever door. So they put her in there and buried her. And then another family member was sick several years later. So a family member, because they're going to bury it, there's plenty of room in there. It's an above ground house. It's pretty big. It's pretty nice. It's very Gothic, like Greek, and statue. And there's pictures online. I'll probably have a picture of it for you on the podcast page. So they unsealed the door. They opened the door and open the tomb door of this mausoleum, which is, like I said, is like, just think of a Greek triangle, like a triangle. It has like a little, it says the initials J.B. Legare. So there you see the J.B. Legare on the cement part, and it's like a little triangle, like a little cement above ground burial for the family members. And so they opened the tomb door for the family member that just passed away to put the family in there, and they see her Julia's decayed remains lying behind the door, and there were scratch marks on the interior of the door, and which led them to realize, which is very, can you imagine that they probably buried her alive and she wasn't dead yet? Maybe she was in a coma, maybe she was still breathing. And so they had buried her alive because there were scratch marks on the side of the door, like she was trying to get out, get me out of here. So apparently Unfortunately, they had buried Julia alive. It seems to be what they discovered. So they reburied Julia's bones and the body with the second deceased relative. Then they closed the door and sealed it. And you know what happens? This is so scary, so just mind-blowing, strange and weird. The door would not stay closed. They couldn't seal it. They couldn't lock it. Every time they sealed it and locked it, the door would open. The people, the parishioners, found the door unlocked and standing open all the time. Can you imagine how spooky that is? Like, you locked it, you closed it, and they tried chains and locks, but the door, they couldn't keep the door closed. And, I don't know if the door was broken or busted or, whatever phenomena was going on, but obviously it was pretty spooky and strange and enough to make you scream and go, ah, I'm not working here anymore. So apparently they wanted the door open. Baby Julia's like, hey, you're probably burying someone else that should be alive. I don't know what she was thinking. So the church members just said, forget it. We're not going to try to seal or lock this door. And eventually the door had to be removed altogether because it just stayed open. And there's 3 headstones in the inside of the mausoleum. And you got Julia, her husband John Berwick, and their son Hugh Swinton, who died at the age of 6. Wow. So, so that's an incredible story. So if you want to go to Edisto Island and check out the J.B. Legare tomb, it's at the Old Presbyterian Church in South Carolina. It's pretty spooky. I mean, there's Spanish moss around it. There's an ornate ironwork fence. Of course, it's like the spooky Southern Gothic. It looks spooky already and creepy, like the ironworks, and it's all ornate. Like, you just like, ooh, we're definitely in here, boo. And nothing like seeing a spooky cemetery, knowing that like if you try to shut that door or put a door in there, it's just gonna be open. And so that's the legend and the reason why the tomb has remained unsealed in the Old Presbyterian churchyard on Edisto Island. So you can actually go visit J.B. Legare's tomb, and there's lots of legends around it and ghost sightings. And some people bring flowers and candy and visit the tomb. And for my money, I'm just going to listen to the podcast and just say, a good thing that they buried her decently. And so I guess lesson is, if you make sure somebody is not breathing and not going to wake up before you bury them. Otherwise, the door is going to open and they're going to let you know not to lock them in there while they're living. So maybe she's living as a ghost now. And she's like, yeah, I just want to just be free and walk to the cemetery and walk around and hang out. So if you go there, maybe she'll hang out with you, bring her flowers, bring her candy. So that is the legend of the J.B. Legare, the open, unsealed tomb. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please take a second to hit the 5 stars with a nice review. If you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's in the link below. If you'd like to check out our other podcasts or support the podcast by buying coffee Sneakies. And please send us your ghost story or your scary story, and we'll get it on the podcast. Thank you so much. And please send in your screams, and we'll put them on the podcast as well. Have a beautiful, happy New Year. Stay well.